hear me and the feedback?
I can hear the feedback very faintly.
Okay. I think it should stop here anytime now. So let's try cut number 3. Greg Traynor here with Wyndham-Lyons Realty Services. I am here with my special friend and guest, Shawn Gupta, and he is with, go ahead and introduce yourself, Shawn.
Sure. My name is Shawn Gupta, and I am an estate planning and estate administration attorney with Gupta Law Firm, LLC. I am located in the Amelia area, but I do cater to clients all over the greater Cincinnati area.
And what we wanted to talk about today, Shawn, is with something that's near and dear to my heart and something that you reminded me a couple years ago as my children were headed off to school, college in particular, that it's very important for our children to have, or the parents to have power of attorneys for their children while they're away at school. And the reason why this is near and dear to my heart is little did my wife and I know that when we sent our precious daughter off to Miami University, that when she got sick, that because she was over 18 years old, that those doctors would not even talk to us over the phone. It was a very awkward situation. So tell us a little bit about what we need to do, especially with all the kids going back to school right now and COVID being prevalent with the younger groups now. What parents need to do to safeguard their children when they could be pretty long distances away.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually a topic that is not discussed as much as it should. And that's essentially because a lot of people don't realize what occurs when their children do become 18 and turn adults. What a lot of my clients are not originally realizing is that once a child turns 18, which in Ohio is what's called the age of majority, they are in all intents and purposes a legal adult, which means that the parents lose certain of the rights and privileges that they previously enjoyed. And that includes being able to speak to their children's healthcare providers, be released information on their children's well-being, and also the ability to make medical care decisions on behalf of the child. A lot of my clients, they've raised the child from birth to 18. They're just so used to being able to talk to their doctors and tell the doctors what to do if the child is unable to do so themselves. And they just don't realize that just instantly kind of shuts off once the child turns 18. And it just so happens oftentimes that when the child does turn 18, they're kind of moving out of the house at that point. They're moving to either a different part of the city to a college or it's completely entirely city in general. So it's so important for the parents at that time when they're sending away their child to college or to a different job, etc., to make sure that the child executes these critically important documents that still allow the parents to talk to their children's healthcare providers. God forbid a child is in a car accident, has a sudden medical event, sporting injury, etc. It's so critical for the parents to be able to talk to the hospital, the doctor, etc., and find out exactly what condition their child is in. And unfortunately, because the child is an adult, they are now covered under the HIPAA law. And it's not that the medical care providers don't want to be able to talk to the parents and release this information. It's that their hands are tied by this law. So the way we get around that is we have the child, the adult child now, execute a HIPAA authorization, specifically authorizing their healthcare providers to speak with and release information to the parents. In conjunction with the HIPAA authorization, allowing the medical care providers to speak to the parents, we also encourage the child to execute a healthcare power of attorney. This document authorizes the parents to make medical decisions on behalf of the child if they are incapacitated and unable to make those decisions themselves. So once again, God forbid something happens to the child and they're in a situation where they're in a medical facility, hospital, etc., and they're unable to make their own medical decisions, the healthcare power of attorney authorizes mom and dad to be able to make those critical decisions on behalf of the children. So a lot of my clients don't originally realize that once their children turn 18, they lose those abilities to talk to their children's doctors and make decisions. But fortunately, it's a situation that be corrected by having the necessary documents put in place.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I remember, and if you recall, there's a big insurance company that has this commercial that's kind of tugs on your heartstrings. And it reminds me, you forget how old your children are, because in that commercial in particular, the dad is talking to the little girl. She's sitting in the driver's seat of the car and she's in little pigtails. He's saying, make sure to wear your seatbelts and signal and do all the other stuff. And that's, you envision your child when you're sending them off, even to college, not as being a full adult. And that's what at least Laura and I did when we sent our daughter off, is just didn't even think about it until it was too late. And luckily it wasn't anything serious, but it taught us that lesson that, my gosh, if she would have been in a college further away, we would have been in serious trouble, because the doctors weren't talking to us at all. They just said, we're so sorry. She's an adult, unless you have a power of attorney or a healthcare HIPAA form, that you're out of luck. I mean, and we're like, how dare you? We're her parents and we're paying all this money for college and blah, blah, blah. She's still our child. No, they're not. So,
And
um,
it's not often that the doctors don't want to be of assistance in that situation, but unfortunately these laws are so strict that it really ties their hands on
yeah,
what they're allowed to do. And
yeah,
I'm sure in their own heart they probably feel for the parents. They would love to disclose exactly what their child's condition is and get input on trying to make these medical decisions, but unfortunately without the necessary documents in place, it's just not possible.
right. And practically speaking, Shawn, too, is our children even leave the nest, I think it's even getting out of college, probably a good idea to have some secondary planning for them, too, because if they're on their own, a lot of folks aren't coupling up until later on in life. So they're really relying on their parents for a lot of things for a lot longer periods of time. So even if your children aren't shipping off to college this week or last week, it might be important to have a discussion with your child about, hey, listen, we're always going to be here for you as your parent, but it's probably a good idea that you have somebody that can step in and help with these decisions if you're not able to and you're sick. So, so for anybody that, I'm just talking initially about the folks that are sending their kids to school or off and away and abroad. I think this probably applies to a bigger audience. Um, and for us, I know I'm a real estate agent, I'm a real estate broker in greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. It might be a little bit odd that we're having this conversation, but we like to share with our clients. Our clients we all consider family. So trying to help them out and seeing pain points in our life to share some of those experiences and help them not go through what we did. Shawn, if I have clients or folks that are watching this right now that want to ask some more questions and get some more details or schedule an appointment to talk with you, how do they do
Sure.
that?
The best way to do that would be to call my office number at area code 513-752-9455. That's 752 Will, WILL. I'd be more than happy to talk with them over the phone, over Zoom, or in person at absolutely no cost for an initial consultation to discuss what their current needs and objectives are, and then how we might accomplish that through proper estate planning.
Great. And two, the next topic, and it's probably too broad for this, and we'll end it soon. But you'd also do estate planning and trusts, so you can put together for those parents who have the changes with their kids that are going away to college. It's probably a good time to revisit some of those even bigger ticket items, like how do I format our own personal estates and trusts and wills, and see which would work better for them. You can also help them with that too, right?
Absolutely. And oftentimes when a client comes to me wanting to get some of these critical documents in place for their children, we also at the same time kind of address their individual personal situation to ensure that things are set up properly on the financial side, so that if mom and or dad become incapacitated, their financial picture continues to kind of run along. And also upon the eventual passing of mom and or dad, we make sure that there's an efficient transfer of assets. We want assets to transfer to either the surviving spouse or to the children as quickly as possible, as inexpensively as possible, and as privately as possible. And
Right.
that's certainly achievable, but it just takes the necessary estate planning put in place. And I, of course, I'm happy to talk to other clients about that as well.
Yeah. And for me as a real estate agent on that topic, that is something that's very relevant to what we do, because we see that in the tragic situation where a spouse or both parents have passed and there's no will, there's no estate planning, there's no trust set up, it can be extraordinarily difficult on the people that are left behind to try to figure out how to pick the pieces up. And you're really putting yourself at the mercy of the courts to tell you how to pick those pieces up instead of you planning it in an orderly fashion. So having somebody like Shawn, Shawn's taking care of my family. I can tell you a couple situations where family members and children where it's made an extraordinary difference, and how that goes while you're grieving and suffering through some of those other issues. Not having to worry about the legal side of it has been a blessing. So we really appreciate you taking care of that for us, Shawn.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
So for anybody out there, whether you're a client of Wyndham-Lyons Realty Services or not, and you're just watching this, please give Shawn a call. Shawn, again, your phone number?
Area code 513-752-9455 or 513-752-WILL, WILL.
Great. Thank you for being with us this week, Shawn. Again, this is Greg Traynor with Wyndham-Lyons Realty Services, where passion for real estate will move you.